Greetings, ladies and gents. Anyone else absolutely loving Alpha at the moment? And the look of Revendreth, my god, that looks incredible. I was 100% down for being a Necrolord, but damn if I'm not tempted by those vampires. My inner Von Carstein is clawing to get out. If you're not a Warhammer fan, then fine, my inner Edward. There, Twilight reference. Are you happy? So let's start this off by saying a huge thank you to yet another awesome content creator. Before we had Noble, now we have the legend that is Sloot, who very kindly has given us permission to use his stream footage of Alpha. And what footage it has been. I will say, if you have not checked out his stream yet, just go over there. Go over, check it out. He's doing some crazy stuff with Alpha, covering everything. The classes, covering all the features coming out. Torghast, the new dungeons, new zones, the lot. He's doing like 10-hour streams a day. It's absolutely nuts. And if that wasn't enough, for you, he's also the guild leader of Future. And if you're not following them on Twitter, you are missing out, for they are the Meme Lords Supreme. Yes. Now in this video, we are going to be looking at the latest dungeon. That is the Halls of Atonement. Now Sloot will be playing an Enhancement Shaman, which, on a side note, I've actually heard are really good to play at the moment. Numbers be damned. We're talking about just fun gameplay, and they are absolutely on point right now. Now, before I continue, before we go any further, I do want to say the footage, obviously, as I've said before, is Sloot's, but 100% the mad ramblings are mine and mine alone. But once again, before we get into this, I just want to say a huge thank you to Sloot for letting us use this footage. It's absolutely superb. So, hats off, sir. And as I say, go check out his footage. So let's kick this off with the obvious. Currently, these dungeons, the two that we have access to, are about as balanced as a gnome and a tauren on a seesaw. Yes, Alpha be Alpha after all. Also, something to take into account is the current gear that the pre-made characters are coming with is pretty much on the low side. So, with dungeon balancing as well, yeah, it can be a little bit of an uphill struggle. Now, you will say, Grim, why are people not using their live characters? Well, the reason being is because you're not really allowed. You will have seen back when Alpha first came out, there were certain people, I know that Max from Limits, I know Asmongold was another, and also Noble, were able to copy their live characters about. This was a bit of a mishap. It wasn't meant to happen. So what you're getting from here on out is very much pre-made characters. So bear that in mind when you've got people shouting, haha, these dungeons are a return to TBC or early Cata dungeons, this is fantastic. It may be a little premature because we may be dealing just simply with overtuned dungeons, which Blizzard do have a habit of doing in Alpha and Beta, and also undergeared characters. So that is something to think about. So, whoa, 1 second. So we're not talking about numbers here, Grim, as these will no doubt change. And we're not talking tactics, as you haven't played any, which is very true. I haven't played any, and I feel a little bit disingenuous if I'm suddenly giving people advice on what you should do in these dungeons when they go live, because I haven't even touched them. What we're going to be talking about is the dungeon design and classes. We have interesting days ahead of us, ladies and gentlemen. Mythic Plus, as we all know, is probably one of the best features Blizzard has given us in a very long time. It's a night elf dating app for the amazing and the beautiful. But should you be unlucky enough to be a leper gnome, well, sucks to be you, baby. There are too many classes that are ending up on the M+ cutting floor, considered unfit to enter in these hallowed halls. Now granted, this is in no small part down to the community. And we've spoken about this before, so we shall not repeat ourselves. But, as much as we are, to be frank, our own worst enemies, Blizzard do not help the situation either. Now, carrying forward a design philosophy from Legion that promoted fast gameplay. You gotta think, this is the expansion that brought us the Demon Hunter. We had fast gameplay, big pulls, quick interrupts, healers and tanks needing to focus more on deeps than their actual role. Pushed many classes out of the running. Now, this may be down to how they deliver their damage, say slow ramp, or having a toolkit that lacks, say, an interrupt. Damn, did I just mention the two things that my own spec, the demo lock, suffers from? I'm not bitter, I promise. But joking aside, the change in dungeon design that we have seen in the first 2 dungeons. Now, bear in mind, this is only the first 2 dungeons that we are actually getting a look at. It gives me hope that all classes maybe can be represented in M+, to some degree. There's always going to be the MDI min-max, but I'm hoping that as it filters down through the community levels, that we can all get a little bit of representation. We are seeing more open environments with ways to skip, should Blizzard want you to have that option. Or tight choke points, if you have no option but to fight. Also, there doesn't seem to be the same massive volume of trash. We have seen, simply to make dungeons seem fuller or to be more dangerous. Instead, we have packs that are challenging, giving you something to think about. Maybe not the need for constant CC, but certainly to be coordinated or to plan, to think ahead, to be awake, not just pull and kill. Now, without showing out, many will say, hey, Grim, M+ already requires those things, and that is very true at a certain level. Once you get to a certain level, very much so. Below that, let's be honest about this, we pull, we nuke, we move on. Now, this doesn't improve us as players. Why have us be given this extended toolkit? We're given all these new tools now in Shadowlands, only to never need them or use them. So should this mean a return to a slower, more rewarding game style? I, for one, am all for it. AoE pulls, don't get me wrong, have a place, and they can be exciting. But only as an option in your toolkit. They should not be the only tool. Now all of these amazing changes to dungeons, the 2 that we've seen so far look fantastic, will mean very little if we're going to have poor class design. At the moment, I'm looking at the Shadow Priest, who is in desperate need of a makeover. My beloved demo lock that is just realistically extremely suboptimal in an M+ environment. The second issue going into Shadowlands is going to be the Covenant abilities and how Blizzard deal with them. I've said before, I love the idea of a risk-reward return to an RPG element of the game. Make a choice and live with that. And that's fantastic from a casual player's point of view. But I also respect there are those players out there that simply is not an option for them. It's going to require them to have 4 characters of the same class, just so they can make sure that they have the BIS Covenant when they require it. Now if you can turn around as a casual player and say, LFR has its place, don't diss LFR, then you must also respect on the flip side that there are players that will require themselves to have these 4 characters. And you have to ask yourself, is that fun? Is that fair? We've said it before, if you can have the option of whatever Covenant ability you want, with whatever Covenant you choose, all that changes is the art style. What's wrong with that? It fixes the issue. Yes, if I want to be a Fae and I use a certain ability, then it will have flowers coming out of it. If I want to have the same ability, but I want to now be with a Vendrath, okay, it's got blood and red and black stuff coming out of it. It's fine. The aesthetic just changes. Not a problem. But we shall see. We shall see what Blizzard come up with in the end. And I would be happy with either, as truth be told, but that's the level of the game I play at. I simply hope that in the time until Shadowlands releases, Blizzard can balance the classes and the Covenant abilities. It's a huge ask, no doubt. But when you've got dungeons and features like Torghast that look this good, returning players and new players that Blizzard are trying to attract are going to want to play. They're going to want to spend their time in this world. And you need to give everybody, as possible, as much as you can, a fair and equal opportunity to enjoy this world. And it doesn't matter how good these features are, if the characters we main simply aren't rewarding and enjoyable to play, or the Covenant ability is so out of whack that my ability is so worse than somebody else's, or so much better than somebody else's, then why would I want to play? And these are simple things that have huge repercussions. We've seen that with Azerite. Simple idea, yet it took Blizzard the entire expansion to try and sort out that mess. Now, good luck to Blizzard. No pressure at all. I love what I see so far, without a shadow of a doubt, but there are some big things looming on the horizon that I hope Blizzard gets sorted. And giving the tools to us early enough to do it is a good start. Once again, a huge thank you to Sloot for the footage. Links to his Twitch, to his YouTube, to Twitter, and everything else is all down in the description. 100% go check it out. But as me done, ladies and gentlemen, have a great one, and I will catch you all tomorrow. See you then.